Welcome to Front Page here on AYV TV on channel 33 and also on AYV Radio 101.7 FM and also our mobile app AYV News. I'm Ronald Morovia. Front Page comes to you every 11 a.m. from Monday to Friday. And in the program, we review, analyze stories on the front pages of our local newspapers in the country. In the studio today, I have with me Alfie Barry, who is a colleague journalist from Star Television. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Ronald. Good morning, viewers. Happy to be here.
I'm also expecting Melvin Tijan who will join me shortly. Well, to help me discuss on the stories making headlines on the front pages, now we'll go for the very first newspaper. Be reminded that views of our guests are not the views of AYV. And the first newspaper is our own very AYV newspaper, which has on its front page, in-house capacity building. AYV newsroom staff orientates on broadcasting, script writing. First Lady, Social Welfare Minister, representatives meet. Canada, Africa Youth Education Forum launch. Those are the stories on the front page of the AYV newspaper. Our next pick is the satellite newspaper. On its front page, it has to promote human capital development. ECOWAS injects billions in saloons education. And NACSA facilitates signing of CPCYE project. Our next pick is the Awoko newspaper. On its front page, it has Court Martial Captain Senesi was the field officer at night, quoting the witness. UN Sierra Leone organizes stakeholders workshop to confront social inequalities. SL and Germany signed 17.5 million grants for poor growth projects. SL and Kazakhstan forged digital partnership for innovation. These are some of the stories on the Awoko newspaper. Our next pick is the Political newspaper. On its front page, big hotels in electricity scam in McKinney. BO calls for synergy in government work. 66% of Sierra Leonean children are poor, quoting UN report. More saloon police needed in South Sudan and Somalia. Those are some of the stories making headlines on the Political newspaper. Our next pick is the City Hunter newspaper. Special online briefing, Ambassador Linda Thomas Greenfield, U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations. Shamefully shameful, Freetown to face massive blackout crisis. Car powership is broke. Sierra Leone's foreign policy characterized by impartiality, quoting the foreign minister. Our next pick is the Guardian newspaper. On its front page, Waterloo Safe One Waka Fine. AfriCell Impact Foundation boosted the Sierra Leone's Education Week celebration. Doctoral program is a training for the mind to think nothing else. Those are some of the stories on the Guardian newspaper. Our next pick is the Concord Times newspaper. On its front page, UN concludes stakeholders' engagement in McKinney and Bow. Budget COVID-19 report exposes vaccine shortage, poor storage facilities, among others. EPA validates national Kigali implementation plan on protection of ozone layer. Well, those are some of the stories on the Concord Times newspaper. Our next pick is the A to Z newspaper. On its front page, Sierra Leone Germany forged 17.5 billion partnership for youth employment and peace consolidation. Alleged store breaking and larceny at NATCOM. 2 security guards remanded. President Bio recognized for regional peace efforts by ECOWAS Parliament. Parliamentary committee addressed telecom challenges. KKY lauds NEF's efforts in clean energy, transport, innovation. Some of the stories on the A to Z newspaper. Our next pick is the Night Watch newspaper. On its front page, on bill leaving State House, SLPP ready. Commuters snub SLPP bosses. Ask the U.S. Chancellor Connor. Well, some of the stories making headlines on the Night Watch newspaper. Our next pick is the Reformer newspaper. ECOWAS speaker donates 10 billion to your university. Over audit queries, Parliament exonerates Bank of Salone. Mohammed Haji Samura gains official recognition from BSL as UBA MD and CEO. some of the stories making headlines on the former newspaper. Our next pick is the Trumpet newspaper. On its front page, FGM leaves lasting physical and emotional scar. Chief Justice received delegation from the Netherlands. Justice and Rights open January. Criminal calendar with 50 cases. ACC engages Lambley market women. These are some of the stories making headlines on the Trumpet newspaper. And our very final pick is the Awareness Times newspaper. On its front page, to safeguard social safety net and youth employment, ACC ensures integrity in $42 million project. Confidence about the credibility of the audit service report on 2022 account. Well, those are some of the stories and the newspapers we have in our studio today. And to discuss some of the issues making headlines on our newspapers, I have with me again in the studio, Alfie Barry. Alfie, we've had some of the stories making headlines on the various newspapers. And I would like us to start with the one on the satellite newspaper, and it's a story that is being carried on some of our newspaper. To promote human capital development, ECOWAS injects billions in Salon's education. If I can just read an excerpt of the story. Recognizing the pivotal role of education in global sustainable development, Speaker of ECOWAS Parliament, Mohamed Sinis, has unveiled a significant initiative during the closing session of the extraordinary meeting in Freetown. The ECOWAS Speaker disclosed a fund of 10 billion loans, 5 years dedication to supporting tertiary students in Sierra Leone across various courses. He unveiled the scheme will address university students from Frabe College, Institute of Public Administration and Management, and Milton Magai Technical University during the last day of the ECOWAS seminar in Freetown. Highlighting the continuity of this effort, Speaker Tunis mentioned that 67 university students have already benefited through the One Love Salon Foundation. Now, a support like this coming from the Speaker of ECOWAS Parliament towards tertiary education, how impactful would this be? A sum of 10 billion loans being injected into tertiary education in Sierra Leone, a promise made by the Speaker of ECOWAS Parliament.
Thank you so very much, Ronald, and good morning to our esteemed viewers and followers of AYV. And I don't know how long I'm going to hold out. This program is supposed to be having 2 people, but I'm alone on the panel. I hope the other person comes.
One hour program,
of course, him coming. But anyway, we'll buckle on. We'll go ahead.
Indeed.
And so that is our job, to talk. Talking is our job. Ronald, it's a laudable initiative, a laudable venture. I will tell you that President Bio has a market, and that market is very simple to sell. Just like the Mami, the way they sell Nabacha, some markets they know what they get. And they sell past every other market because it's a high interest market. That is, I'm referring now to education. In every part of the world you go, when you present education as the flagship of your government, no international partner will reject you, but they want to listen to you. Because it is sometimes, in fact, it has even been touted as a novelty now. It's very difficult for you to see governments around the world really allocating substantial amount, nearly a third of state resources to education. That is what President Bio has done for the past 5-6 years now. We are now in his administration. It's a very good market to sell. That is indisputable. And he's going to go down the annals of history as one of those presidents who, whenever you mention education, you will mention his name. We'll talk about the challenges of education, how the implementation went, and how sometimes the bottleneck. But the fact that you're having a government that promised 21% of our resources to education, so itself. So I'm not surprised that we are having global recognition in terms of education in Sierra Leone. In fact, the fact that we've put education at the front and center of our governance, it has even helped to bolster our international image in the world. So ECOWAS coming is just the latest in a long line of, or the litany of international recognitions that have come to Sierra Leone. So they're giving 10 billion to education. It's a little venture, especially the tertiary aspect. Because remember, the free quality education mostly rotates around the primary and secondary education.
Yeah.
That is what basically the free quality education is about. But the tertiary aspect is also very, very challenging. For us that have gone to university, we all know what it means to be in university. There are a lot of challenges. As of now, Fabre College is grappling with so many basic amenities. You are seeing a university that is the oldest in West Africa, one of the oldest in the world, a historic university. You are seeing students carrying benches on their heads. In some departments, the department that I studied into is a very prestigious department. Mass communication, we don't do that because we are the private school of Fabre College. That I will tell you. We don't carry benches on our heads because we have high standards of recruitment. So not everybody goes to mass communication. But other departments that I don't want to name that attract high amount of students. You see students standing in classes. I mean, you can see in just one class over 700 students in one class. So the lecturer-student ratio is very, very low. The lecturer do not have control over the class. And you see some instances. I mean, in just, for instance, what's the name of the hall? EJ Hall. 700 people in just one class, and the lecturer is teaching. So even the guy that is from the back will not see what the lecturer is saying. If the other people will say, I didn't have class, I don't know, nothing, we come more class and give me notes. You didn't have class, you couldn't know nothing, someone didn't have WhatsApp, because the lecturer does not have a control over the class. So even benches in Fabre College is a problem. That in itself is another challenge. So this money coming in, even though 10 billion is a very good amount of money, but it's just a drop in a bucket. If you compare the challenges that the tertiary institutions are facing. So it's a very good venture. To just summarize on this, this particular amount that has been allotted, it's just the latest recognition in the slew of recognition that Sierra Leone has attracted in the global stage when it comes to really prioritizing education. I'm not saying that I'm giving the free quality education or the education as a whole a clean bill of health. No, there are numerous challenges that continue to plague the free quality education that needs to be challenged, that needs to be looked into, and there are still nagging problems that have not been addressed. But the fact that we're having education at the front and center of an administration, even though we are now in the second inning of President Bio, he's now saying that food security is at the heart and center, but still, we are not hearing that 21% of the budget is still being allocated to education. It tells you that education is a priority, and education should be the stepping stone for any development going forward.
Now, the goal of this support is to promote human capital development. And we've seen, over the years, we've put more effort in formal education, forgetting about technical and vocational education, which is also key in promoting human capital development. So as a country, how best are we performing in that area to promoting human capital development? Because every year we see thousands of people graduating from the university, and when they come down to find or to secure a job, it's very much difficult. So is it time for us to turn our focus to supporting TVET education? Because it's also part of the developing human capital development in Sierra Leone.
Well, I totally agree with you. TVET is very important. In fact, I call TVET education and the formal education as two inseparable bedfellows. I repeat, they are two inseparable bedfellows. One cannot work without the other. They perform the complementarity aspect. They complement each other. Because government cannot create job for everybody. In fact, I came across a particular figure at one point. I'm not sure about the figures, but government cannot even create 10% of jobs in Sierra Leone. It requires the private sector. The private sector needs to come in. But again, when the private sector comes in, they go for the best and the brightest. So for you to be competitive and really attracting that private sector job, both from the formal and the informal aspect, you need to master your own art. We have a lot of carpenters in Sierra Leone, Morovia. We have a lot of tailors, we have a lot of mercenaries. These guys, they've crafted their arts for many, many years. They've perfected the arts for many, many years. But how do you scale that up to make them competitive? Because it's a different ball game for you to wake up in the morning and call one mercenary and say, but I can go build from you 2 rooms and parlor. You build for you the OCG and basic money. But how do you ensure that that particular mercenary scales up its craft to attract investors? Because, for instance, I want to see a Sierra Leone mercenary applying or bidding for big contracts. How do you do that? How do you go about writing or applying for contracts? How do you go about writing the biddings? So you need to have some amount of formal education also. So it's a they have to complement each other. But I agree with you totally, Ronald. The TVET sector in Sierra is underperforming. It needs to be improved. It needs to be graded upon. In Freetown, we have, for instance, in Bo, where I'm coming from, we are very popular SLYC in Bo. We are doing relatively well. But there are very few and far between in the country. Why can't we have them like we are having universities in Sierra Leone? I mean, every blessed you see universities that are popping up in Freetown. It's not a bad thing for you to have many universities. You need to have them because they bring their own expertise, they bring their own different points of view. Because I'm not seeing some universities, they are purely into specific aspects of life. That is very good. But why can't we also have the litany of also these TVET institutions in every part of the country? So that at least, because I tell you what, not everybody has the intellect to go to university, get a degree or get a PhD. Sure. No. In fact, the WASC education in itself, WASC, the West African Examination Council, in fact, it's one of the avenues that has led to a lot of dropouts. When somebody attempted was one with them, you get one credit, you go for the second time, and now you no credit, you go for the third time, you no go credit. What did they do? They got children at house. These are the people that are supposed to be infiltrating the TVET aspect. Because they have some amount of formality, they have the foundation. So when you give them all the TVET aspect, they master the electric. I mean, I have one of my colleagues, what the way coach to, you know how the losses. One will come up. We attempted the WASC in 2011, 2010. I got my 5 credits. I'm glad all over the place. The guy got 1. He attempted the other. He got 1. The guy said, but maybe I don't go to university. He went and studied, man, an electrician now. That guy is now building house, his own personal house, out of electricity. The man made to discuss when I went to Bo. I said, but lie. His name is Lie anyway. I said, man, per project, how much you can make way like for the calling for go run a cable in one house? It should depend. If we have 5, 6 house, bedroom house, they give me 5, 6, 7 million. I was like, really? 5, 6, 7 million for just one house for one OTF? They said, the time they can just go in structure, come on, like other side. The guys making more money, 4, 5 times more than I'm making in my quotes and speaking big English on television. So let's imagine. You know why the Guineans are very powerful when it comes to this middle level manpower, when it comes to TVET, because it was as a result of Secretary, the former president. What he did at that time when he was in power, he was a dictator, he was brutal, he had his downside, but he ensured during his era, he flew a lot of young Guineans to France to study this TVET aspect, the electricity. That is why you see when it comes to operating heavy duty equipment, the Guineans are very good at that. You see someone who was 14, 15 years old, if you grab for each work, you're surprised. That is what we should be doing in Sierra Leone. Why can't we ensure we have young people going into these areas and operating? Listen, Okada riding not a profession. Taxi driving is not a profession. Car wash facility is not a profession. Anyone can do it. For instance, you go to university, you study mass communication, you study communication. Presenting this show, not everybody can present this show. I will tell you that there are some journalists who are they can part of having 30 years experience in journalism. You sit them in this chair for you to articulate it. They cannot do it. You distinguish yourself. I want to study something that not everybody knows. Okada, I can learn Okada in just one day. I can drive taxi in just one day. I want to learn something that is very hard to come by. I want to master a profession that at least people will look after me, not what I'm a profession. So when somebody masters electricity, he or she becomes in a fixed electricity in places. People go after them. In other countries,
and we've been seeing the challenges in the country of recent. You see big companies coming into the country looking for technical skills. Instead, they will import expertise from other countries to come and do the works that many Sierra Leoneans will have done and earn themselves a better income. So we've been seeing those challenges. So we need to put more efforts on TVET education. I
agree totally with you. It's very frustrating. And you cannot blame these multinational companies. They're looking for the best. They want to get quality outcomes in their job. You cannot go and employ mediocre. So if you look for, we are all talking about local content, promoting local content. But if you bring, for instance, a heavy duty equipment for you to operate. For instance, you look at this company, I've looked at them, the Chinese companies that are doing our roads. Most of the jobs that our Sierra Leone brothers are doing, they are menial jobs. Not laborers. For Bill Sansan, Totango, Tona inside the truck. But when it comes to the highly specialized aspect, you see the Chinese. In fact, they say that they work. Once they pass, you see no one building to map like magic. So our Sierra Leone brothers, even though they have the responsibility also to transfer knowledge to them. This is multinational company. It is part of the local content that you need to employ certain amount of Syrians in a job. But how many multinational companies are doing that? But again, put yourself in their position. Because when you have a company, a business, it's all about profit making.
Yeah.
You cannot go and employ mediocre all in the name of promoting local content. For them, mess up your work. So if you have these TVET institutions in every part of Sierra Leone, in every aspect of Sierra Leone, it will help to bolster the middle level manpower. Me, I'm one of those who frowns at the Ministry of Youth Affairs building these car wash facilities. It's preposterous. Those developments, I call it, they're cosmetic, they're flash in the pan. I mean, for us, Motuka, Mr. Zebo was me Motuka when it comes to that. In fact, those places are now serving as havagers for those young people to be smoking kush, for idleness, for prostitution, for abusing our young children. Why can't you take those young people that are washing cars for just 50,000 per day? You take them, ensure that you give them the technical skills. For instance, just look for 5-6 young people. Then you go put them per TVET and learn light business. You know that thing money, and a line make that thing money. So when you master the art of electricity alone, it will sustain you and your family for the rest of your life. Because there is no day you wake up in Freetown that a house will not tell you that my bulb get problem. Or my switch, this month tell me my switch neck on. Which I will not call electrician. Guy when they will read it right, they go fix them. If you not take time, the money will come in the life for me and because the expert in the area. They tell me if the couple don't want, they go inflate the price. I'm not telling him to do that. But that is what they do. So I think we need to emphasize electricity, the carpentry, the masonry, the heavy duty equipment areas. We need to bolster that aspect too.
All right, so let's move on to another story. On the Awoko newspaper here, Sierra Leone, Germany signs 17.5 million grants for poor goods projects. If I can just read an excerpt of the story. Freetown, Sierra Leone, the Ministry of Finance and the German embassy have officially signed a sum of 17.5 million euro grants for the poor goods for peace consolidation youth empowerment projects, the GPCYE. The formal signing ceremony took place on Friday. But this is in continuation of the poor goods projects that NACSA has been implementing over the years, and now they have added a new component looking at youth empowerment. Oh. Yeah, it's a 17 million grant project, and according to the project, this is the fourth phase, and it's supposed to be implemented in Bo, Bonds, and also Moyamba, I'm sure, because I was part of the signing ceremony. How time is, as we've just mentioned, we are talking about TVET education, giving young people the skills needed. Now the Poor Growth for Peace Consolidation project came after the war, immediately after the war, to ensure that people are being preoccupied with somewhere where they were able to have their livelihood opportunities. Now another aspect of the project, another aspect has been added to the project, which is the youth empowerment scheme. How timely do we need such developments, especially when you look at the current situation that prevails with young people in the country engaging in drug abuse, wasting their future? How important is this additional scheme of the project, the youth empowerment scheme?
Ronald, there are poor people in every part of the world, including America, in Britain, in China. There are poor people in every part of the world, especially at a time in which the global economy is challenged with multi-dimensional challenges. We are all now phasing out of the COVID-19, and now we are not seeing the Ukraine war that is still rumbling, and in addition to that is the Gaza war. So even our global leaders, the so-called developed economies, they're having problems with their economies. And when you have the global economy being challenged, and another aspect to this, before I speak to that, it has a connection to that. I want to look at it from the global point of view. As of now, when Israel is waging war on Hamas, the war is going on. The Houthis of Yemen, they are now ruling Yemen. America, they've designated them as terrorists. What they are doing is they are attacking the shipping routes. Remember, only 20% of goods and services they pass through the waters. And in that particular water, 10% of global shipping passes through that route that the Houthis are now attacking. They are attacking every as they call it, every pro-Israeli country. That is America, all those that are supporting Israel in fighting Hamas. Because who see they are supporting Hamas. So they are now saying that they are disrupting. So basically what they are doing, they are attacking ships that are having goods and services. Goods are supposed to be going to the Middle East. They are attacking the supply chain route. Goods are supposed to be coming to Africa. Remember, Africa as a continent is it's an import-driven continent, especially Leone. We depend on the global market when it comes to much needed goods and services. So the Houthis are now attacking that. That is also bringing another extra layer of complication to the global economy. And when you have that disruption, you are breeding more poor people. People are getting even poorer. So those that are poor are getting poorer, even in Europe and America. Now, when it comes to Africa now, our own poverty is multidimensional. According to World Bank report, it tells you that 65% of Sierra Leoneans are living in multi-dimensional poverty. That is scary. That is not supposed to happen. So some of these social safety nets that the European Union and the government of Sierra Leone and NACSA, they're expanding to these people, it's a laudable venture. It's a fantastic move. But for me, it's just a short-term measure to cushion the effect in that short measure. Because for instance, if you meet a person who cannot provide the food, you give him 200,000-300,000 euros, they'll go and buy food for today and tomorrow. But what about the day after tomorrow? So for me, even though these social safety net, they are laudable, even in America, they're having them, they have food stamps they give to people that are on the streets, but these are just short-term measures. But as a country, why can't we think about sustainable development project that will ensure that you elevate people more out of poverty? I mean, as a country, you're having 65% of people that are in multi-dimensional poverty. It gives rise to malnutrition, undernutrition, shortened life expectancy. It has security implications. People begin to become so disgruntled, and they begin to lose confidence in the government. And when they begin to lose confidence in the government, it leads to what? To violence and failure. That is why in Sierra Leone now, almost everybody had one. Because the economy is not doing well, because poverty is multidimensional, there seems to be a cutoff, Ronald. We seem to have a very few who are living in a very lavish lifestyle, the political class. They are living in flamboyant lifestyle, and they seem to be very cut off from the realities on the ground. And that is a problem. 65% of people that are in multidimensional poverty, that should be a wake-up call for all of us as a country. Going forward, what can we do? What can we do? Let us make the government to work better for Sierra Leoneans. That should be the priority. We have a very ambitious project on hand. That is the Feed Salon project, the Human Capital Development Drive. If that project is properly implemented, it will really help to cushion this effect that we're having on poor people.
And another aspect of this project is that it supports the Feed Salon agenda and also the area of job creation, as young people will be employed in making feeder roads in agricultural productivity areas to ensure that you're able to link farmers to markets and also keep these young people employed to able to get their livelihood opportunities.
Yeah, very good move. But I have one recommendation: free, pro bono, let not pay me.
Right.
This Feed Salon project. Look, let the workshop, let's talk about it. Let workshop business done now. Too much workshop, too much lunch, you don't tire. Too much workshop upon workshop, too much lunch upon lunch. You didn't have Radisson Blue, you didn't Sahara Hotel in air condition. So let's go to the field. I want to see people removing their coats and their ties. Let them wear boots and go to the farms. We don't know too much. Too much lunch, you don't talk about that. Want to see now the practical aspect of it. Here is Tomabo, a whole treasure lying down to be utilized. Sierra Leone, in every part of Sierra Leone, we are so blessed that every part of Sierra Leone is almost agriculture viable. And we've been only able, we have not even been able to exploit 20% of the arable lands in Sierra Leone. This country is blessed. Almost 80% of the lands are lying there, they're waiting to be harvested. In other countries, they export soil from other countries to embark on agriculture. So why can't we scale up the Feed Salon project? Let us make it mechanized farming is the way to go. But in going about the mechanized farming, you need to have resources. I always remember the outgone UN resident coordinator, Ahonusi, what he said when President Bio launched this Feed Salon project at Risimblo. I was there. He also echoed what I've just talked about. Fantastic initiative, very good initiative on paper, but it requires resources. And that's resources Salon government only will provide them. So we need to collaborate with like-minded other countries in Africa, in Europe, in America. For instance, President Bio went to, was it in Algeria or Morocco? He presented that he needed $800 million In fact, the president is now scaling up this feed salon project. He's now touting it as an African project, not just a Sierra Leone project. He's now saying that if this project succeeds, it's the rest of Africa that has succeeded, because we have the potential to feed the rest of Africa. So it's a very good initiative. But let's move from the talking on paper. This is what we talk on paper. Let's talk about now, how do we ensure that we have the rights on the fields? We ensure, I had the chief minister now saying that even the prison authorities, they are now ensure, even the police, how on earth can they say no police? It is now the foreign university the council for carrying salon police. Thousands of salon police officers. We have the Ministry of Defense. They have a very vibrant agriculture department. I will tell you, they have a very vibrant agriculture department. If the government can also latch on that, they have the human resources, they have the technicalities, they just need the equipment and maybe some resources to out. In other countries, the military are heavily in agriculture. Why can't the police have their own farm? The military have their own farm. Ministry, department, and agencies having their own farm. Because every farm you have, you're not just going to benefit. You're going to, at least, if you go in your backyard garden, I go pick pepper there for go cook. This is agriculture very, very good. Yeah. But again, it's about resources. And I'm yet to understand how, and despite the brilliant idea, I'm yet to really be convinced as to how the government intends to really raise this kind of gigantual resources to fund this gigantual project. That is my problem. The policy initiative is there. The idea is there. Maybe the political will is there. But how do you fund this initiative, the resources? That is the missing link. And how do we connect these dots is a multi-million-dollar question, Ronald.
All right, so look forward to see how best or how helpful these 17.5 million euro from the German government will aid in supporting the feed salon project and also job creation aspect. Now move over to the political newspaper. On its front page it has big hotels in electricity scam in McKinney. If I can just get an excerpt, ongoing nationwide raids and on customers of the Electricity Distribution and Supply Authority, EDSA, MJ Hotel and Sarah in the northern capital, McKinney, have been invited by the authority over alleged illegal activities in relation to usage of electricity. The nationwide on-the-spot check by the authority started on Saturday, 26 January this year in the south and east regional capital Bo and Kenema respectively, where illegal activities were reportedly discovered at MJ Hotel in McKinney. The EDSA officials, including the Director General, after inspection, alleged that the original seal of the prepaid meter had been replaced with another seal that was not of the authorities. The seal could only have been removed by someone who wanted to access the meter for some illegal reasons, said Mohammed I. Jallo, senior technician at the authority. Electricity theft is a big challenge. Now the authorities doing a raid, and we've seen hotels being named on this scam or scandal. Big hotels' names are being called on this allegation of electricity theft. What could be the reason for this? That big institutions like this could not go through the legal means to acquire electricity, then they have to use the back door of stealing electricity. And what implication would this have on the entire electricity provision of the authority?
The broader implication is the fact that corruption is everywhere in Sierra Leone. Illegal abstraction of electricity is a crime, punishable by law, 5 years to 50 million, or concurrently. It's a serious problem. And this particular one that EDSA is embarking on is just a tip of an iceberg. You go to big institutions, multinational companies, hotels, ministries, departments and agencies. It's a nagging problem, and EDSA knows that. So they're going to this hotel, these are just, this is the tip of an iceberg. But you ask, what could be the reason? I'm not justifying corruption. It's corruption to the highest degree, and it should be dealt with according to the law. But it all boils down to desperation in ensuring that you limit the expenditure on buying EDSA top-up. You see these hotels? They have a lot of appliances, a lot of activities that consume huge amount of electricity. So what they do, and this is the secret, and EDSA knows that, they will tamper with the meter to either stop the top up in the meter from how where they burn. Let's talk about you. They reduce how they burn. There's a way they can do it. They reduce the way they burn, which is a crime, because by logical extension, you are depriving the EDSA from generating the much needed revenue to fund their activities. So because Mr. Top Up don't go up, and this hotel and even other multinational companies, they will consume huge amount of electricity, because if you look at them, the generators, the equipment, the air conditions where they get, the televisions where they get, the fridges, in almost every room they get fridge, because bulb they burn too much electricity. So they say, this law will just reduce the amount of meter, the top up with the burn. That is what they are basically doing, to ensure that they don't buy enough, because there are some companies that I know, they buy like 6-7 million top up per month. It's unsustainable for them. So they look for another cavalier way to ensure that they don't buy that kind of amount of money. But that is a crime, and they should be prosecuted. But when you talk about the dog, talk about the bone. EDSA and EGTC, the Electricity Distribution Supply Authority, and the one that is generating the electricity. We all lauded the former government when they unbundled and they brought them together. When they unbundled them, they separated their duties and responsibilities. They said, you know what, okay, you know what, because we used to have NPA, National Power Authority. So now you have a separate institution that is there to generate electricity. And the EDSA is to distribute electricity. And to my understanding and my investigation, thanks to the car power ship, which is now, we will talk about that in a minute, which is now currently on the verge of shutting down according to some reports. When it comes to the megawatts in Freetown, we have enough electricity that is being generated. But the problem is the distribution. Which is the EDSA. Because we are having ailing distribution system in Sierra Leone. Ailing, I mean, very old. The network is very, very old. It's very difficult for them to evacuate electricity in people's homes. So that's why sometimes you see the breakdown electricity. You see it causing inferno fire incidences in Freetown. Fluctuation of electricity, like what happened with me this morning. I had to turn off my whole system before leaving my house. It was very risky as of now. But the light, it fluctuates. Because the network is very, very old, it do not have the capacity to handle the evacuated electricity being distributed by EGTC and the car power ship. So you're now having a problem when it comes to the generation aspects. Coupled with the unfair increase of the electricity price over time. I say unfair because if you increase electricity tariff, we should have at least sustainable electricity. I will tell you, Sierra Leoneans, we are not averse to really living up to our own side of the bargain. This is an agreement. You give me life, I buy top up. That's why we have prepaid. You pay before you get electricity. But I've gone through the excruciating circumstance, I've bought my electricity, and we are now seeing 110% increment in electricity from 2023 to now. But you put the meter in your top up, you hardly see electricity nowadays. How do you justify that? I'm not trying to draw the line between illegal electricity abstraction to what is happening. But there is a direct link. What is making people to resort to these desperate measures is because of the high price of electricity. What they did is a crime. It is not justifiable by law. They should be punished. But EDSA also needs to meet their own end of the bargain. And until they do not meet their own end of the bargain, this problem will continue to persist. In their press conference, ministry departments and agencies, they are owing EDSA billions and billions. If I'm not wrong, over 300 billion. MDs are not paying their own like bills in Sierra Leone. This country final. This country big on Morovia. And so if you don't pay, you as a ministry, department and agency in the new building, how do you expect EDSA to refurbish, to rehabilitate, to fix this ailing networking system that we both talked about?
So what we want to know, how comes they are owing the EDSA such amounts of money when we have a prepaid system?
That's the question that also came to my mind.
It's somehow baffling.
So, we are not experts here. Exactly. Because
we need them to explain.
Never needs to come and explain this aspect.
Honestly.
Because how do you owe? Because if you don't buy top up, you don't get light.
You don't get light. So are
you telling me, I'm not jumping to conspiracy theory, are you telling me that maybe there are some illegal abstraction when it comes to MDAs Well, that should be the point. Okay. Because if you pause the meter for light no candy, but you get light, that is also illegal abstraction also.
Obviously.
So whenever you're going on these rates to the private sector, also go to this ministry, department and agency so that we will not see selective approach. Because the problem is big. It is almost in every part of the country. And also what I'm advising the ESA people also, those that go to this rates, you know we have different types of meter. We have the one that is for commercial and the one that is and essential for the private people. When you go to these people in my area, for instance, you go, these boys, when they go and they meet, you don't type out the meter. But I think that I don't want holiday, just park for a Monday. Then they can't game. They wake after 3-4 months, they can't back. That is the harsh reality. This is on national television. I'm saying this, but that's what is happening. So effective monitoring mechanism needs to be put in place because some extra they give point down now. They go to play. They have a database of those that are having illegal electricity connection. They have them. When they get in Canada, they go. When they go, they park for money, but they go back at 3-4 months, they come back. Then the place. They're not solving the problem because by law, you should remove the meter and you bring a new one there.
So in other words, it's a source of income for them. Whenever they want to make money, they go there and collect.
Some of them, anyway. Ronald.
All right, let's move on to a similar story on the City Hunter newspaper. Shamefully shameful. Freetown to face massive blackout crisis. Just read an excerpt. Car power ship is broke. In a troubling turn of events, the city of Freetown in Sierra Leone is on the brink of a massive blackout as a result of government's failure to fulfill its financial obligation to car power ship, a leading Turkish energy company. Sources close to the matter have confirmed that the government of Sierra Leone is currently in arrears to the tune of tens of millions of dollars owed to car power ship for the provision of electricity. The severity of this situation has been downplayed by the Ministry of Information, which attempted to dispel the news during its weekly briefing. So you see, how worrying is this for us, residents of Freetown?
Let me modify this headline. When you say shamefully shameful, Freetown is facing massive blackout. We're already facing blackout. So maybe the blackout is going to be taken out to another level. It's going to be scaled up now.
Because there are some areas that goes without days without electricity.
Exactly. So there's blackout in Freetown. So maybe it's going to be now a scaled up blackout. But again, I ask myself, in the first before I address this issue, we should not be having to depend on an establishment that will move another day. We should not be depending on a ship to generate electricity. Sure. It is unsustainable as a country. But that is the situation. All you do research about the car power ship. All the countries that they operate in, these are countries that are either war-torn, like Lebanon. They're having the Hezbollah, so they're having political turmoil. Syria, these are countries that are war-torn countries that are having car power ship. This is just a temporal measure, car power ship. So we're not supposed to have it. If this country is really, really serious about fixing electricity problem, I will give you this figure. And this is shocking. This is not my figure. According to the Budget Advocacy Network, BAN, the research that I stumbled upon, for the past 15 years, the government of Sierra Leone, that is both President Bio and Ernest Bai Koroma, they've invested. So the electricity sector has attracted almost $985 million.
Investments.
That is nearly $1 billion in electricity investment. Despite that whooping amount of money, Ronald, electricity penetration in the whole country is 35%. $985 million, and we're having 35% of electricity penetration. Take that money, you give it to a Singaporean government. They will have 80% electricity penetration in their country. Take that money, you give it to Paul Kagame. He will get 90% electricity penetration.
So what's the problem?
Corruption, mismanagement, systemic corruption in the electricity sector. When the money comes in the energy sector, it's very difficult to be account. There are two aspects that are very difficult to audit: the energy sector and infrastructure, roads. These are highly specialized areas. You need to have specialists to audit these areas, because that is where lots of corruption happen without you, even the auditor. If you're not careful, you're not skilled enough to understand that. So, Ronald, if you're having $985 million in electricity, even in Freetown, the electricity is unsustainable. But to this blackout, this pending blackout, why they read that body they rise? Because we are now in February, and the Calgary place hot right now, Ronald J. Morovia in Freetown, because of climate change.
Climate change, yeah.
Because we have resulted to wage a war against the ecosystem. The ecosystem is fighting back. As of now, we are getting in excess of everything. When it comes to rain, we get more rain. When it comes to sun, we get more sun. So the heat wave is very, very serious. Now we're not talking about pending blackout. Massive blackout, because we already have blackouts in some areas, I will tell you.
Yeah.
Again. So we are having a means of information saying, and according to what I know, the government is owing in arrears this car partnership to the tune of nearly $50 million. The last time I checked, $45 million. But every day we wake up and we sleep and wake up, the bill piles up. So we are now within the range of $50 million. Now the minister is telling us that they've already paid $12 billion to this.
Out of $50 million.
Out of $50 million. But Nigerian businessman put himself in that putting position. This car partnership. Remember about the use fair for journalist electricity. And now we are having a pro-government newspaper, the Global Times. They are now attacking the Minister of Finance, saying that the Minister of Finance is playing cat and mouse to this issue. They are now saying that he has shut the doors in front of this car partnership. They have made promises, they have made counter promises for them to meet up to this $50 million area. At least pay more than $30-40 million. Then begin controlling this electricity. And I will tell you, the moment these people they cut off their own generation, Freetown is going to be plunging in massive blackout. But again, going forward, Ronald, why can't us ensure we have Bumbuna?
And we've been on this for the past years. Bumbuna is this percent completed, this percent, and up to now we still at this age, a country like Sierra Leone, we're still suffering challenge with electricity distribution.
It's a shame, Ronald. It's a shame. It's very difficult to justify the problems in Freetown. In Sierra Leone. For more smaller, Bumbuna phase 1, Bumbuna phase 2. MRC don't think about this thing, we don't tire. I don't know what is the holdback. But I think it all boils down to also funding. Because we are so over-dependent on the international community, we are waiting for maybe the World Bank to either loan us or give us grants. But we cannot go on for this forever.
The resources we do spend on this car partnership, would that not have been converted to supporting the Bumbuna project? Maybe we would have been far gone by now in electricity provision.
I agree with you. I agree. But what is the timeline? So because, for instance, if you say, okay, we cancel car partnership. And in the meantime, so before you complete Bumbuna phase 2, and I tell you, Bumbuna phase 2, I've gone to that place a couple of years back. It's a project that cannot be done within a tick of an eye. Because where the area outside the project fall, there are some communities that are there. So you have to evacuate these people and you compensate them for their houses in itself. Because there are people who are within the belt. There's a term that they use for them. So you have to move these people, you compensate them. There are villages in those places, and there are some places around that Bumbuna. These are historical forests. Some man in the day do in society. So there's a cultural implication to that. So you need to have community engagement for these people to move. You have to relocate them, and by law, when you move someone from his or her own home, you give them the place that is commensurate to what they used to be, or even better. So the problem is bigger. So you begin to talk, you know what, before we begin to give $50 million, I mean, one engineer I spoke to yesterday told me, $50 million can give sustainable electricity to Freetown. $50 million you're in car partnership. But if you shut out car partnership and they move on, in the meantime, what's going to happen to Freetown?
Alternative source.
There's no alternative source. Ronald.
So is it time for us as a country to be thinking about solar energy? Renewable energy.
It's a very telepathic. That's what came to my mind. In other countries, I mean, Dr. Kanye is the expert in that area.
Obviously, because if we're finding it difficult to access the main grid energy, maybe it's time for us to turn our attention to renewable energy. And he's the chairman of a presidential initiative on renewable energy and also agriculture. Maybe he should be providing an advice to the president that we need to turn focus to this area.
When he went to Qatar, he made an immaculate presentation. You know, the guy masters his brief when it comes to energy. I mean, immaculate presentation in Qatar during the COP28.
And we are good for that as Sierra Leoneans.
To make it
wonderful.
Exactly. But how do you translate that speech to action? Because as of now, electricity is a human right, Ronald. Electricity is a human right. You know how damaging it is for the informal sector, how damaging it is as of now because of the metal lights? For the economy as a whole. That money now we area and Abadi Road. Every household they get 2-3 fridge. They get a cold water, they get a jabber, they get a bisap, which they put inside it. When light day, they call them, when me say for one drink water, we tell me I go buy this app day because this on the another 10 grand. I go buy this app, on 2 grand. We they manage life. But when life no day, and aside from even the business people, we have some people, especially the creators. Even I do it. Now we came and they cook for me. When they cook for me, I put on a fridge, me 3-4 plasters, I keep on a fridge. It is going bad because light no day. So for me, light is a human, electricity is a human right. So we need to come on board to ensure that we fix this electricity problem. We've talked about this for years and years, but the problem seems to be exacerbating as of now. And these headlines that we're hearing that the car power ship is shutting down, as of now, we might be thinking that they are speculative. They are not. The car power ship people, they are not happy. Because how can you owe someone to the accumulation of $50 million and this person is a business person, so he is only at a loss as of now. So the only way you can do it is to terminate the supply that you are giving. And when you do that, I will tell you, it will create huge uproar in the capital, Freetown. Because as of now, we are beginning to see it. I mean, for the past 2 or 3 weeks, there has been relatively good electricity in some areas. Kudos to EDSA. I mean, we don't just lambast them. I understand their problem. They are having their own in-house challenges when it comes to resources. Again, that's also a problem. But also when it comes to even those that are also circumventing the process, illegal abstraction of electricity, where MDA owe EDSA over 300 billion. Man, come on. Listen, this is a money that they are going to be using also. So even because they have a mobile team where you get light problem, you call them and they send them. They have to buy fuel, they have to pay the staff, even though some of them are civil servants. So these are problems also. So for me, in some way, the problem is multi-layered. They are cross-cutting problems. We need to have a conversation, not just a conversation, but we need to devise strategy to ensure that we avert the spending calamity that is facing. Because we black out in Freetown. It's a problem. It's going to be a problem for the informal sector and even for the government. Obviously.
Many thanks to you, Alfie Barry, for joining me in today's edition of the show, Front Page. Well, viewers, this is where we bring the curtain downs in today's edition of the show. And you have been watching Front Page here on AYV Television, Channel 30, and also on our Facebook page, AYV News. Many thanks to my guest, Alfie Barry, and also to my producer, Mwamela Mimbanya and Eddie Makonte. And to the rest of the technical crew, I have been Ronald Jomorove. Many thanks for watching and listening, and do stay tuned.